Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen Existentialists. Welcome in, everybody, to the Gen Existentialists. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we're here to spin Megawheel the Magnificent, come up with a topic, and we will yap and yammer on about it for as long as we can pull some information about it. We are obviously both Gen X, which means our perspective is probably different than yours, unless you're Gen X too. Yeah, I personally love the idea that millennials and Gen Z might be listening to this and gaining some wisdom from the things that we espouse.
Or at least finding more stuff to complain about.
Yeah, whatever we can get. So Megawheel the Magnificent is our fabulous spinning wheel with over 500 different topics on it. Shall we give it a spin and get started? We are spinning the Megawheel, and before anybody asks, even though you hear the noise in the background, there isn't actually a wheel in the room. We've got a website that we've got all this stuff built on.
Don't tell them how the cookies are made.
The sausage is made on my phone where I just spun the wheel. So we've got our first topic.
Yeah, what's that?
What do you do when you want to chill out after a long day? Have you had any chill out time lately? You've been pretty busy with like everything you've been doing, right?
Yeah, I've kind of hit the depression mark where after a long day, I just go straight to bed anymore. What do I do to chill out after a long day? I'm turning into my father. I have a nice front porch, and I sit on my front porch and I watch birds. Cool. Sometimes when I want to chill out. Other times I will
wait for a train to go by.
No, I'll take a gummy. Usually, and by gummy we mean cannabis gummy. I'm all about the edibles, kids. So I will take an edible and just chill out and watch some really lousy television until I sink into the couch.
What about fishing? Are you doing much fishing? Because you've got a lake in close proximity.
Yeah, I have a lake in my backyard now, and I swear I've only gone fishing 3 times because it's either too hot, or it's too dark. And I don't mind night fishing, but I'll tell you, living next to a lake, we have mosquitoes like you wouldn't believe, like clouds of mosquitoes.
Yeah,
and that really deters me from spending a lot of time outside at night. So,
Makes sense.
That's me. What about you?
To chill out after a long day could be any one of a number of things. Because I used to work from home. I used to be a compliance officer for OSHA, a state plan where we live. And that made it harder to chill out after a long day because I was already home. You know, it takes a certain mindset if you work from home. You have to separate things. Like the biggest thing I did, I had my office in one room, and once I was done for the day, I didn't go back in there no matter what. But since I work off-site, as it were now, on the drive home, cranking some music, loud music helps me chill out. And when I get home, playing music, coming down here into the studio and either writing or just grabbing a bass and just playing for a little bit is a great way to relieve stress. I'm not sure, because I'm pretty high strung. I'm not sure that I even understand what the concept of chilling out means. But I think probably the closest I actually get is reading. If I can just sit down and lose myself in a novel or a good comic or something, that's probably as close as I get to actually chilling out.
All right.
So that was a pretty quick hit and run there on that. And that's the thing about Megawheel the Magnificent. If you've listened to episodes of the Gen Existentialists before, sometimes we hit one topic and we take the entire show. Sometimes we've had, what was the max, like 5 topics?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
So should we give it another spin?
Sure.
Let's do it. And we are spinning Megawheel the Magnificent. And our topic is going to be, I hope it's something good. Here we go. This kind of tags along with some recent topics we've had, but it's asking it in a different way. What makes your life feel purposeful? So not why do you think you're living, not what are you doing with your life, but what makes your life feel like it has purpose?
I think personal relationships are something that are really big for me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. When it comes to feeling purposeful.
Sure.
I cook in our relationship. It's one of that we have a division of labor in our household. And
let's be very clear here. Bunny was not talking about he and I. He was talking about he and his wife.
Yeah, me and my wife.
Although I would enjoy it if you came into one of our recording sessions with like a pot of chili or something. That'd be great.
Yeah, I do the cooking in the house, and then my wife does a lot of the cleaning. So right now we live in an old farmhouse. We don't have room for a dishwasher anymore, which is a real drag. So she does the dishes in the sink. And I hate that. So this is a good division of labor. But things like making dinner for my wife, cooking the meals, making lunch for when she has to go into work, and packing it the night before. Things like that make me feel purposeful.
Small goals.
Small things, yeah. But I know that I'm a contributing cog to the machine of the family.
Yeah.
Of course, my work makes me feel purposeful. I think having a job where you have concrete product afterwards. Yeah. There's a lot of really infuriating jobs, in my opinion, out there where it's like working on assembly lines or being a librarian or something like that, where it's just you're doing work and you're doing paperwork and it's never ending and there's never a final goal to your work. I think that gets super frustrating to me. I like having a job where I have a finished product at the end of each of my projects, or my clients have something they can physically take home. Sure. And Absolutely. It lives on after the job. So
makes sense.
That's probably it for me.
So for me, feeling purposeful, and I'll go back to something we touched on a moment ago. I used to be a safety compliance officer for OSHA. And one of the things that made the job frustrating was I could go in and do an investigation, and whether I had citations attached to the investigation or not, but especially if I had citations, like let's say a guarding issue, and I cited a company for, a violation of 1910-212A1, which is basic machine guarding. I never really got to see if they fixed it, how they abated the hazard. I went in, did my investigation, and once I closed, I lost visibility on things. Now, for anybody out there that's thinking, oh, you just go in, you cite them, and you walk away, it wasn't like that. Neither I nor any of the compliance officers I worked with would do that. Part of it was all training. You go in, you cite somebody, tell them, hey, this is what's violative. You can't just walk away. You have to make sure they understand that you help them find a good way to mitigate or abate those hazards, things like that. But I never got to see that at the end. Whereas now in private industry, working at the same company, going to the same place every day, if we do an audit and we've got a finding and they're going to have to change something on a machine, we're going to have to rewrite some work instructions, do something to fix the ergonomics of a particular task, I get to work with them through the entire process. Hopefully they come back and say, want some consultation, like these are our ideas. Can you come take a look? One of my first meetings on the Monday morning following this recording session is going to be meeting with one of our business units about a problem they've got. And I love that because I'm there at the beginning. I'm there as we figure out a fix. I'm there at the end to help make sure it's correct. If there are any issues, I can see it through. So it kind of ties in with what you were talking about, that there are goals and you get to follow a project through to the end. Sure. I don't feel like most if any of my investigations with OSHA, I felt the completion when I was done and I turned them in.
Sure.
But I never got to make sure that things were right afterwards.
Yeah.
So that was a frustrating thing. So have we
spin that wheel?
Beaten that one? So we'll spin the wheel again. It's funny. We try to make these episodes about 20 minutes or so, which is usually a good amount of time for the topics that we hit and stuff. And sometimes we hit stuff and we can carry one topic through the whole thing. Sometimes we have to do multiple things. Okay, this is a strange one. Have you ever had an epiphany? And if so, what was it like for you? It's almost like, have you ever had an orgasm? And if so, what was it like for you? But epiphanies can be like orgasms.
Why don't you take that one then? If you're feeling so orgasmic about that, and I'll take a little time to think.
Well, as far as epiphanies, I think I'll give you a musical one. And for anybody that doesn't play music, this may not ring true. It may not be something you can latch onto, but I've been playing bass since I was 14. And the way I was originally taught and the way I played for many years was that I anchored my right or plucking hand, my thumb, on the pickup of the bass. So I was always anchored and moving my hand along with that. And a few years ago, after watching some videos of players and recognizing that one of my favorite bass players, Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, uses more of a floating right hand technique. So his thumb isn't anchored on the bass. He's moving, kind of floating across the strings. I decided to try that. And it was absolutely an epiphany for me, because within the space of about 2 weeks or so, I had refined the style, where I held my hand and my wrist, and I felt so free with my right hand as I was playing, to the point where right now, if I picked up one of the basses behind me and tried to anchor my thumb on the pickup and play, I could do it, but it would be really difficult, because being anchored in one place is just so antithetical to my playing style at this point. So that epiphany was more of a physical thing. If you want like an emotional or a headspace intellectual epiphany, the first time I saw my wife, because she emailed me. She saw the web journal and poetry website that I had up in the mid to late 90s. And we had a mutual friend, and she emailed me, and we started talking on the phone. And finally we made a date. She came up to see me, and we were going to meet at a certain store. And I had a general idea of what she looked like, but I hadn't seen a picture of her, because this was early days of the internet. We just didn't have it. I had a couple pictures posted on my website, so she knew what I looked like, which is completely unfair. But as I walked into the store, I saw this woman toward the back of the store coming out of an aisle, and I just knew it was her. And I can still to this day tell you what she was wearing: white shorts, a kind of gray-blue tank top. I still picture it vividly in my mind, and it was an epiphany to me, because just seeing her was like something opened up. Mm-hmm. and something just was that, whoever that is, yes, that's good. I like that. So those are mine.
That's funny that you mentioned that, because it was a very similar thing with my wife and I.
Yeah.
It was the same situation. We had a mutual friend. Mm-hmm. We started talking on the phone. She sent me an email first, of course. Started talking on the phone. I had a website with my pictures on it. She did not. So I was just told, oh, she's got dark hair and she's kind of gothy and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, great. That narrows it down, to about 200. So we had made a date to meet at a place called the Highland, which is a coffee house up in Clifton.
Yep.
And I remember distinctly the night I went in there, and I parked in the parking lot across the street, and I sat there and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to get in another relationship. This is going to suck. But I got up the gumption. Later find out that my wife was in a separate parking lot having the same mental process of like, I don't want to meet this guy.
Wonderful.
Blah, blah, blah.
I love that.
So I go in and I sit down in the back of the restaurant, so I have a full view of the doorway and coming in. So I
scoping things out.
I'm sitting there with my tea, and I'm looking around, and I was told that she liked wine and that she'd be wearing all black.
Again, that doesn't narrow it down.
That doesn't narrow
much.
it down. So I'm looking around the room, and there's this very attractive woman sitting toward the front with reading a newspaper with a glass of wine. And she's dark hair, dark dress. And I was like, oh, crap, she's here already. I've been sitting in the back like a numbnut, like ignoring her. So I stood up with my tea, and I started walking forward. And then Jean came in the front door. Yeah. It was a completely different person. Just happened to be the same description.
That's cool.
And like you said, it's it's an epiphany. You see it and you know.
Yeah.
And
it's nothing you can really put a finger on. You can't really put it into words.
No.
It's just things change.
Exactly. It's like boom. And our eyes met. I knew who it was, and here we are,
Yeah, absolutely.
25 years later, here we are.
Yeah.
So
any epiphanies, like artistically, like with the work you do, with filming, anything like that? Has anything ever shifted your Weltanschauung as far as the art stuff goes?
I would say nothing that the audience would be too interested in, probably. It's all probably very techy.
Like anybody was really interested in my right-hand technique playing bass. I mean, come on.
I found that when I have to put together a project, I do video editing for a living, if this is your first time. Been doing it for close to 30 years now. And my mind sees things like points, like 1,000 points of light in a spider web. Sounds dumb. It's the best way I can describe it. Things are connected by thin threads, and I put things together in real time when I'm speaking or when I'm trying to come up with a solution to a problem. And when I used to edit tape to tape, physical media to physical media, cutting things, splicing things, and when nonlinear digital editing came out, which is what everybody knows now, it's just the way to edit now. I guess you could say that was an epiphany, because I was able to take the way I think and
do it real time.
It sped up the process immensely, not just because of the nonlinear nature of it, but because I could have 1,000 pieces sitting in a bin and be able to put them together in real time the way I put my thoughts together in real time. So that would be it.
I was about to throw a bad comment in, like,
no.
Grandpa, did you used to cut film with a razor blade and tape it back together?
That and my cocaine. No, I'm just joking. With that carnival mirror that I got from the Kentucky World's Fair or whatever.
Don't lick the mirror, kids.
No, don't touch my Def Leppard mirror and my roach clip. No, okay.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We're up against it. Final thoughts on epiphanies, sir?
Epiphanies are one of those things that just come to you. It's kind of in the definition.
It really is. If you go out looking for an epiphany,
no, you're not going to find enlightenment.
Yeah, it happens, and sometimes when you least expect it. It's like the best opportunities. Be ready to open the door. Keep your eyes open. That's just a life lesson, because you never know. And like for me with the bass playing, if you've got a technique, you're an artist, you're a musician, you're a writer, and that's how you do things. Don't be afraid to try something different, because you may have that thing that hits you like I did, that all of a sudden it literally changes the way you play. And I had been playing for decades, but sometimes trying something new is the key to everything. So with that, this has been the Gen Existentialists. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. What's the email address again?
Email address is morningpizzaradio@proton.me. That's proton.me.
And check out the Facebook page for Morning Pizza Radio. It's the umbrella organization under which we all operate here with the Gen Existentialists and everything else we got going on. Until next time, his name is
Bunny.
And I'm Scott. Have a good one.